Good morning. Well, good afternoon from where I am at here in Louisiana, DeWitter, Louisiana. And we're having a good revival meeting. The Lord is helping, and we've been appreciating His presence. I am once again pre recording this lesson due to the fact of traveling back and will not be back by the time for class on Monday. So we are going to um, pre record this one, and then the following week we should be back on track in class with live discussion for those that are live streaming it. And I apologize about this, but just the way the schedule ran this particular time. So we're continuing our discussion with conflict management, and we are talking about. We looked at last week, and we're sort of recapping some of this in this week's lesson, and we're looking at. Um, we noticed that a crucial conversation is a discussion between two or more people in which they hold opposing opinions about a high stake issue and where emotions run strong. We looked at that, and we noticed last week that everyone faces crucial conversations. Everyone, it happens. And so when we handle these crucial conversations well, let me try to move this here where I'm not over top of the wording. When we handle these crucial conversations correctly, we come out successfully, and we like that. But as Grinny uh, and his writer states, if you know how to handle crucial conversations, you can effectively hold tough conversation about virtually any topic and resolve the situation. But that's not what typically happens. Okay, that is true. We are beginning to we are beginning to look at strategies to prevent um, conflict. One of the ways to avoid conflict is to know how to handle a crucial conversation. This is vital. The lag time, as we learned last week, between when the problem surfaces and when it is resolved or dealt with is critical. Many times we lag on that, and it only worsens or it makes it worse. And so that is um, that is important. In fact, um, the researchers say they can measure the health of an organization, relationships, or teams by the lag time when dealing with crucial conversation. People are faced with three ways of dealing with crucial conversations. Three ways, and we deal with these crucial conversations in one of these three ways. We either avoid them, hoping that they will go away, or we'll face them and handle them poorly. And that's probably why a lot of people avoid them because of they faced them and handled them poorly, and so it might be better just to avoid it. Or we can face them and handle them well. That is important. Um, so uh, when it comes to dealing with conflict, though, uh, we are, let me back up and say this. Um, when we avoid having a crucial conversation, we know that uh, they will not magically disappear. We would like for them to we would like to ignore them and let them just go away, but they don't. It keeps happening, and you have to keep dealing with it. And if we don't have the conversation, the problem will become the lens through which we see the other problem, the other person. The way we see others affects how we act. It produces resentment. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. And when we start acting our feelings, instead of talking them out, we cause even more damage. When it comes to handling crucial conversation, most of the time we do it poorly. Often, as Granny says, often in these tough moments, we are at our absolute worst. We exaggerate, we yell, we withdraw, we say things later that we later regret. The sad irony of crucial conversations is that when it matters most, we tend to do our worst. And so, why is that? And so the researchers give, and we're going to look at these four areas that cause us to react poorly. Number one, which I have up on the PowerPoint, um, we're designed wrong. All right. Uh, Granny gives us the best description of why we are designed wrong. And I want you to pay attention to this observation because this is fascinating. When conversations turn from routine to crucial, our instincts conspire against us. Strong emotions don't exactly prepare us to converse effectively. Countless generations of genetic shaping derive humans to react to interpersonal threats the same way we deal with physical threats. Our natural tendencies in a moment that seems threatening lends more towards fight and flight rather than listen and speak. All right, and that's very important. So, for instance, consider a typical crucial conversation. Someone says something you disagree with a topic. Someone says something you disagree with about a topic that you hold a great deal that matters a great deal to you, and your body registers the threat. Okay, so let's say they say something that um, may be about the job you're doing, and you really do your best to do the best job. All right, and so all of a sudden, your mind and your body says you're being threatened. All right, your body's instinct is to prepare you for physical safety, not for conflict resolution or management. Two tiny organs set neatly above your kidney pumps adrenaline into your bloodstream when feel threatened. Your brain diverts blood from activities it deems non-essential, like thoughtfully and respectfully opening a conversation, to high priority survival tasks such as hitting and running. As the large muscles of the arm and legs get more blood, the higher level reasoning section of your brain gets less. As a result, you end up facing challenging conversations with the same intellectual equipment available to a rodent. Your body is preparing to deal with an attacking saber-toothed tiger and not your boss, neighbor, or loved one. Okay? Think about that. we're wired wrong. And so in doing that, when we feel threatened, we are designed wrong for dealing with conflict properly. Number two, we're under pressure. Many times when crucial conversations happen, they come out of nowhere. We're not prepared for it. They catch us by surprise. You must react and conduct a crucial conversation in real time. We do not have time to prepare for the conversation. We can't run and grab our textbook on crucial or conflict resolution playbook or crucial conversation and say, okay, now how am I supposed to do this? All right. We do not have time to prepare for this. Simply put, we have not been able to see or be trained to do a proper crucial conversation. All right. This is vital. Again, and when you think back to how we're designed, and so our brain is telling us one thing, pumping our body full of adrenaline. We're drunk on adrenaline, and we've been caught off guard. It's little wonder we often say and do things that make perfect sense in the moment, but later on seem, well, stupid. All right. Number three, we're stumped. We often don't know where to start to approach a crucial conversation. We act in self-defeating ways. A lot of times we're making this up as we go along because few of us have seen real life models of effective communication skills. When we can practice preparing for a crucial conversation, but our practice will not make perfect if we don't know how to do it right. You know, the old adage is practice makes perfect. Well, that's true if you know how to do it. You can practice all you want to. And then you practice all you want to, and you think you've covered all the bases. And when you get into that conversation, they're going to throw a curveball that you weren't prepared for. Winging it is the best method and hoping for the best if you're in this situation. It sometimes works. I'll have to be honest, it sometimes works. But often it tends to disaster. All right? And so as we look at this, we understand that. Also, we act in self-defeating ways. Sometimes in our doped up, dumbed down state, the strategies we choose for dealing with our crucial conversations are perfectly designed to keep us from what we actually want. Our textbook states that, and that is so right. He said, we are our worst enemies. We grow silent and we start bad mouthing the other person, and we get caught in this self-defeating way. But there is hope. There really is. We must learn to talk openly about high stakes, emotional, controversial topics. The way to do it better is to learn the skills necessary to address and resolve the issues successfully. Here are a few ways that learning these skills will help you. So I've entitled this, The Benefits of Addressing Conflict. Number one, increase your influence. Can learning these skills help you in your career? Absolutely. People will respect you more and they will follow you if you know how to confront issues, even tough ones. All right? That might even be confronting a boss that can be very difficult. And so you do it in a right way, and it increases your influence. It improves your organization. How we deal with problems will change much in our lives. One of the ways of dealing is through silence. Our textbook says it's possible that an organization's performance can hang on something as soft and gushy as how individuals deal with crucial conversations. Many studies suggest the answer is an absolute yes. Two things we note about silence, because that's what we typically do, is silence kills and silence fails. When you become silent, it's going to kill any relationship, any working. And silence doesn't correct the problem. It only creates more of a problem. All right. Strengthen your relationships. Our textbook says, in truth, everyone argues about important issues. Not everyone splits up. It's how you argue that matters. This is the truth. This is true of the example in our textbook, but it's also true, and then in the textbook, it's talking about a marriage situation. But it's true in organization. Learning how to argue is vital. Now, you may not like the word argue. That's what our textbooks use. We might want to say, well, we're not arguing. Uh, we're in a deep discussion, or we're debating. Whatever you want to call it. It's still the same. We need to learn to argue, discuss, debate, whatever you want to call it. We need to learn to do it well. Then the next one is boost your personal health. This this one blew me out of the water when I was studying into this. Studies have proven that if we handle conflict well, it helps our immune system. And if we have a good immune system, we tend not to get sick as often. All right. And studies have proved that those that deal with conflict uh, very well has a better immune system. Another one is the life threatening diseases. They did a study on people that had melanoma, skin cancer, and and there was no cure for it. So they wanted to test these people. They divided the group of these people that were in this. They half of the group, they gave them and trained them how to communicate and how to deal with conflict. And it was just like maybe 5 weeks that they taught them this at one day a week. And then they watched over 10 years. Those that had the training overwhelmingly lived longer than those that did not have the training. Fascinating. All right. Um, Mountains of research suggest that the negative feelings we hold in and the emotional pain we suffer as we stumble our way through unhealthy conversations lead to minor problems. In others, it results in disaster. In all cases, failed conversations never make us happier, healthier, or better off. And so we come to the end of lesson 4, but now we're going to go into lesson 5, or I'm sorry, we ended lesson 3. We're going into lesson 4, and we're going to look at strategies to prevent conflict. Since we learned what conflict is in last week's class, and that it challenges our needs, how do we stop conflict before they start? The way to prevent conflict is to develop strategies that will assist in dealing with situations before they escalate to a full-fledged conflict. All right. And so we're going our one textbook, conflict resolution playbook, gives 7 of these. All right. We're going to look at 4 this week, and then we'll look at the other 3 next week. So let's delve into this. Establishing the right conditions for difficult conversations. Now remember, this is strategies. This is strategies to help prevent conflict. This is not helping us deal with strategies dealing with conflict. We're going to talk about that later. This is things you can put into your business, your life, that will help you to prevent conflict. However, as we've already stated, and it so often is said, it doesn't go by the rule books. And so sometimes these fail. And so we actually find ourselves in conflict. And we need strategies to deal with that, which we'll look at that a little later. So relationships, whether in life or business, require everyone to express themselves. However, each one must establish the right conditions for this conversation to take place and flourish. Without this process, each person will feel that their needs are discounted. Pollock states, to stop conflict before they begin, it's vital to create the right conditions in order to not have stressful, emotionally charged, or anxiety-induced conversations. He says this, in any relationship, it is important for each person to feel safe expressing their needs, feelings, and concerns. Likewise, each person should have control over their space and boundaries. This is important. So again, the person must feel safe. All right. So our job is to make sure that everyone involved feels safe. So a part of this is to set aside time to meet regularly. And this will provide, this can be weekly, this could be monthly, could be bi-weekly, but set up that time. That weekly meeting will help us to be able to express difficult conversations before they escalate. In having this, then you can talk to them on those weekly meetings or monthly meetings. They will not get that unexpected call to the boss's office. And when you get that, the summons is 98%, I'm going to say maybe 99%, is never a good thing. All right. When you get called to the boss's office, you're probably in trouble. All right. Establish a conversation protocol. All right. This is important. Setting a conversation protocol helps each party know the boundaries of a conversation. The protocol could state as simply as that challenges are to be written down and discussed in the weekly meeting or the monthly one-on-one meetings. You write them down and you share them, and then we deal with them. It also, conversations protocol might even say we are not allowing you to attack the other person. You may have to say some difficult things that might even hurt, but you're not attacking a person. All right? That's important. Commit to staying calm. Boy, this one is huge. What happens Whatever happens, commit to yourself prior to difficult conversations that you will stay calm and available to hear the other person out. You may think that you have the answer, all right? But remember, they have a viewpoint too, and you need to hear that just as they need to hear your viewpoint, all right? The minute an individual raises their voices or becomes defensive, the condition for effective communication has been diminished. So, you need to maintain tactful body language. We talked about this. If you're acting like you're disinterested or you're tapping on the desk with your hands and looking quite agitated, or your vocal tone, well, I'm staying calm, but it's very, the word just sarcastic. The tone is sarcastic. It's all going to tear down any helpful communications. So, Pollock observes in general, all difficult conversations should happen in person or over the phone because there is so much room for misinterpretation of tone. Having challenging discussions via email or text can often lead to further conflict and challenges. I told my children that uh, I told my boys, if you're going to break up with a girl, don't do it through text. And I told my girls' boyfriends, if you're going to break up, don't do it through text. And I told my daughters that as well. Have a face-to-face conversation. Be man enough, be woman enough to look that person in the eye and say, this is not going to work. All right? That's important, very important, and something that we typically don't follow. Another one is letting go of resentment. Pollock observes resentment is complex that way. It can fester in both personal and professional relationships, surfacing in response to direct slights or comments, as well as indirect unconscious actions. No matter what someone does, if you resent them, it will be nearly impossible to give them credit for anything. Your mind will naturally seek out evidence for the belief that they are somehow wrong and discount evidence to the contrary. Assuming you have to talk to this person or even collaborate with them, such resentment is almost certain to end in conflict. We may think that holding on to resentment is punishing the other person, but in reality, it's punishing ourselves. Regardless of whether conflict arises, resentment will create friction and conflict within a person. This reaction is because we realize that resentment is a matter of displaced envy. All right? And that's important. If you want to prevent conflict from emerging or worsening, it is crucial to explore any feelings of resentment and do your best to transform them into healthier, more productive outlook. There are two ways that Pollock mentions in his textbook that I thought was quite interesting. Number one, it was the clearing task. And the clearing task, let me bring this up here, is basically you are writing a note to someone, and he recommends that after you write all of this, that you then talk to the person. But basically, you here's the sequence. James, I don't can't remember if there's any James in the live stream. So if there is, I'm not talking about you. All right, but let's just say, James, I feel very agitated at you, because when you ignore me or do not respond to my communications, I interpret it as disrespect, whatever. As a result, I don't trust that you really understand me. And what I need from you is I need you to pay attention. I need you to listen. I need you not to say unkind things to me. All right? And you write all of this down. And again, the sequence can be used to decipher why you resent someone and to separate the behavior you witnessed from the meaning and judgments you place on it. It also gives you space to express your emotions beneath the resentment. You can do this on your own or share it with the person you have resentment after writing this. That is up to you. The second, the second one that is mentioned, let me see here why this is not going. There we go. Is a three-part reconciliation writing task. All right? Here it is. Here is the writing sequence. You write a letter to the person that you resent from you. Now, again, you're not sending this to the person, all right? But this is helping you express your feelings. With your clearing statement in mind, the previous exercise, write out everything you would like to say to the individual. Remember, you're not actually sending it. Vent, but without blame or judgment. Okay? Such as, why do you keep coming at me? I feel like you are constantly coming at me. You're trying to undermine me as a boss. You are a bad boss. That's passing judgment. All right? Previous things, I feel like you are coming at me. That's fine. But don't say you're a bad boss. All right? Remember to separate their behavior from your interpretations and feeling. Take responsibility for any part of the issue that you can own. And there is an element that you own. Okay? Finally, state your needs and your desires. What would you like to hear or see from them to move forward? Whether that means separating or rebuilding the relationship. Next, response from them. Now you will write a response to your initial letter from the individual you resent. You're going to write, all right? You're going to write in their respect. Think about what you would like to hear from them in an ideal world. What would really help you feel heard and considered, and that your needs are satisfied. Write as if they really heard and understood you. Let them own their part in this conflict. End with best wishes. And last, you respond back to the person. Appreciate their ownership and recognize their willingness to move forward peacefully. Again, in the letter on good terms. You might think this is silly at first, but this exercise, as the textbook indicated, can actually be quite healing to someone. All right? We're almost to the last one, and this is second to the last one, and that is setting clear expectations. Setting clear expectations. When we do not set clear expectations with people, it will cause issues and conflict. Pollock states, to be fair, people are not mind readers. It is not always reasonable to assume Others understand what you expect from them and that they have agreed to your expectations, and vice versa. If we do not set clear expectations for others and clearly understand their expectations of us, we are bound to come into conflict with them. Now, this is important, and probably an area that I probably struggle with more than I realize. Um, there are times I feel like, what is wrong with me? I can't communicate anymore. I have told this person what I expect, and sometimes my wife will be listening in, and she says, "Honey, you really didn't make that clear." All right. Um, that happens. We think we've made it clear, but we may not have. It is critical to establish clear relationship agreements that describe the expectations for how to act within a particular situation. This concept is true for relationships, whether family or business. We all have relationship agreements, whether they are spoken or unspoken. We do. Most are unspoken, and here's the problem. Conflicts arises when someone crosses the unspoken relationship agreement. They don't know they've crossed it because it's unspoken. We've not communicated that. And so, yeah, uh, it arises. So again, our we must state our expectations clearly and then keep each other accountable to keep the expectations. That's important. And so again, our textbook gives two ways to help this. All right. The first is a template, which I have here, and it's in your notes as well, to help clarify. So, right in here, you will write the name. All right. James. You're saying, James, I feel disappointed when, and you write that out. I would prefer you to write out the expectation. My personal agreement is, and you write it out. There is an example of this within the textbook. So read it and look at it, and it will help you understand this whole process of expectations. And this will help you to specify what you want out of an individual. You may have several rows you need to fill out for a single person. So it may be James, James, and you can add to this James, James before it gets to Susie. All right. Um, Once you're clear on what you would prefer, you can either talk to the person or let them know how you feel or propose the agreement in a natural way. All right. Next is adjusting expectations when necessary. Well, we don't like this one because it's our expectations. All right. So we don't want to adjust them. You need to adjust your expectations. What happens when you find out that the other person cannot meet your expectations or you cannot meet the other person's expectations? What happens? Um, it is good to ask, and our textbook gives three questions. It's good to ask these questions and analyze them, whether you can or cannot adjust your expectations. Number one, what is the relationship's value? And this is important. Every relationship contains a cost benefit equation or a balance between the value of that relationship to you and the effort required by you to manage the relationship. Based on what you can reasonably expect from the individual, ask yourself the following questions. Am I getting enough out of it for what I have to put in? Do I need or want this person in my life? If the answer to these questions is no, it may be time to move on. This is vital, and this is true even in marriage situations. Um, you know, you've got to look at a lot of things, and what is the relationship's value? If you value it, then you're going to work more with it. If you don't, you won't. Are you willing to let go of your original expectations? If the relationship is worth keeping, then accept the new exceptions and do not expect anything, or expectations rather, and do not expect anything beyond what is agreed to by both of you. It is not fair to keep expecting what you originally hoped for, even when you know the other person cannot keep your expectations. All right? And the last question to ask is, how capable is the relationship of evolving? It's okay for others to have different expectations, standards, or capacities in professional and personal relationships. We do not have to align on these matters at the outset. What's important is that we clarify what we expect from one another and adjust our expectations accordingly. The healthiest relationships are those that evolve through effective communication to help each person align with, understand, and respect the other's standards. And then we move to the very last. We move to the very last strategy: recognizing different communication styles. This is important because, again, um, this this is huge. All right. Pollock gives this interesting observation: whatever the reason, identifying and honoring different communication style is vital for preventing conflict. In doing so, we can stop misinterpreting why others talk to us the way they do, allowing us to recognize the discrepancy between our assumptions and their intentions. All right. Um, a lot of times, he says prior to this that conflict between individuals with different communication styles are all too common, both at home and in the workplace. Interestingly, direct communicators often attract and are attracted to more passive communicators. This is true both professionally and even romantically. It's an example of psychological transference, wherein each person recognizes in their partner the communication style of one of their parents and subconsciously hopes to use their partner to heal childhood wounds. And so this is important. And he says um, there are four things that you need to do. Stop assuming. You may have someone you have difficulties with and struggle to communicate with them. They may remind you of someone in your past who hurt you or who rubs you the wrong way. When this happens, we want to assume that they are wrong or bad. We need to stop assuming their intentions are bad. Most of the time, our assumptions are inaccurate and biased toward the negative side. Seek clarification. If a person triggers you in the wrong way, you should investigate why. Once you have determined why, you need to talk to them. Relate to them. When you say this to me, when you say it in this tone of voice, I interpret this as, and you give your reasons. Could you clarify for me exactly what you mean? Do you mean what I just said, or is there something else that I'm missing? You're seeking clarification. And then honor their intentions. Once the person has said, "Oh, I don't mean it that way at all. It's just the way I come across." You need to do your best to honor them. Now, some people, it is hard. Just to be flat out honest. But you need to try your best to do that. And then remind yourself of your perception and misperception. Changing interpretations and automatically reactions to triggering communication styles are difficult. It takes time and patience to alter the way you perceive and judge different styles. You cannot expect anyone, including yourself, to drastically change the way they communicate. All you can do is to remind yourself of the following. Even though I feel triggered right now, it doesn't mean that they are attacking or avoiding me. It's just my perception, and it's not necessarily true. Now, there are some people that they are attacking, no matter how you cut it, because it happens and they'll say, well, it's just no, there is a time that they need to say, I need to change the way I communicate. And so these steps can also help change if you are triggering someone else. You say, you know what, I notice when I talk to James, he reacts in certain ways. Am I causing problems with James? And so, again, go to James. Stop assuming. Go to him for clarification. James, I noticed that when I talk to you, you react in this way. Am I causing you problems? Allow them to be honest. Honor their intentions and remind yourself that you are not perfect. Okay? That's just bottom line. All right? So, one other thing, and we've already mentioned it, but one other thing. Do not communicate these steps through email or text. This needs to be an in-person phone conversation, preferably in person, but a phone conversation. You cannot get through a text or email exactly what you mean. All right? And so that is important as well. Thank you for your time this week. And as I said, next week we will be back in the class, and we have 5 that's taking it on campus. And hopefully they will provide some good discussion. I like discussion. I'm not so much into the monologue. I like a discussion, and so I hope they will discuss. Thank you very much, and God bless you, and have a good week. Remember as well that you do need to do your reading and turn it in. Someone asked me, do I need to do my reading before I watch the lectures? That is the purpose, that is the design, so that you understand what we're talking about. But if you cannot get to it and you need to watch, because you also need to respond to any discussion that's put out, you need to talk about that. You need to respond before Saturday, because otherwise you're not going to be able to, and those people are not going to be able to reply, and you have to reply to at least one person. And so that can make it very difficult. So please respond earlier in the week. I've not set an absolute time, but if we keep getting people responding on Saturday, I will have to set then that you will have points deducted if not you respond by Thursday. So if you get in a jam, watch the video, do the discussion, and then do the reading. But I would prefer the reading ahead of time. So just a point of clarification. Goodbye, and God bless you very much.